thrilled to welcome you, and I'm thrilled to be here partnering with the Center for American Progress to co-host this great conversation on tackling the climate crisis, building resilient and equitable communities with the Inflation Reduction Act in Florida and beyond. This summer, Florida saw record-breaking temperatures that caused heat-related illnesses and death, as well as electricity bills to spike. 10 weeks of heat stress and water temperatures hotter than ever recorded in the region caused widespread coral bleaching and marine mortality throughout the Florida Keys, the most severe we have ever experienced in our state's history. Florida isn't alone in facing more intense and prolonged extreme heat events. June registered as the hottest June ever recorded globally, and July was the hottest month ever recorded on the planet, putting this year, 2023, on pace to be the hottest year in history. In addition to more dangerous heat waves, climate change effects are evident in every corner of our country. For Florida to be future ready in ways that safeguard our economy, our wildlife, and the health and well-being of all our residents must be climate ready. Fortunately, the Inflation Reduction Act, President Biden's Affordable Clean Energy Plan enacted in August 2022, provides $369 billion to accelerate the U.S. transition to a clean energy economy that will create good jobs, reduce household energy costs, and build climate resilience, with much of its focus in disadvantaged communities on the front lines of this climate crisis. Over the next decade, Florida state and local leaders have a historic opportunity to take advantage of the clean energy, the clean transportation, and climate resilience investments in this historic legislation to improve the lives of many. It is imperative that state and local leaders act now to secure and direct IRA investments to the most vulnerable communities, including those overburdened by pollution and climate change and facing racial injustice and economic inequality. Today, I am thrilled to welcome and introduce two majors on our panel today that are pioneers and bold leaders in the fight to prepare our cities and counties to withstand these impacts, build climate resiliency, and transition to a clean energy economy. Welcome Mayor Castor and Mayor Levin Cava to this conversation today. I'm going to do a brief introduction of our panelists and we'll get right to it. Mayor Levin Cava is the mayor of Miami-Dade County, and she was elected as the first ever woman mayor in November of 2020, following a 40-year career of a relentless advocate for South Florida families in the nonprofit and the public service sector. Under her leadership, Miami-Dade County created the first ever climate action plan, which is now in its second year of implementation with some major achievement under her belt and her framework. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as we get into the conversation. Jane Castor is the mayor of Tampa and has spent a lifetime in service to the community, first as a police officer, then as Tampa's first female chief of police, and finally as the city's 59th mayor. She has spent 31 years with the Tampa Police Department, and during her time as a senior staff member, Mayor Castor worked to reduce major crimes by 70% citywide. Under her leadership as well, the city recently unveiled the first ever climate and equity action plan, making sure most vulnerable communities were not left behind and had active participation in the development and implementation of such plan. And finally, we have Kathleen Kelly, a senior fellow at the Center for American Progress, working to advance equitable and just national climate policies. Before joining CAP, Kathleen served in the Obama administration at the White House Council of Environmental Quality. Welcome all. It is really a truly honor to have you here today on this crucial and important conversation. Okay, so are we ready?
Sure.
Let's get to it. So Chris, this question is for both of you, Mayor Levin Cava and Mayor Castor. People living in Miami-Dade County and City of Tampa are already seeing and feeling the impacts of the climate crisis, especially Black and Brown communities and low-income areas, which are often hit first and worst by these extreme weather events. Both Miami and the City of Tampa are on the front lines of this issue. You both have climate action plans that take into consideration these disparities. What role has the Inflation Reduction Act played in supporting the implementation of your plans? And can you give us one or two examples? Anybody want to go first?
I'll jump in. Well, the level of support for climate action, particularly in underserved communities, in both the Inflation Reduction Act and the bipartisan infrastructure law, really cannot be understated. We've found the bipartisan infrastructure law is the most powerful piece of legislation to help protect communities from the physical impacts of climate change. And just a couple quick examples from our area. We've been very successful with DOT grants for safer streets and alternative forms of transportation. And when 45% of emissions are from cars, the transportation sector really can't be overlooked. Secondly, we're keeping our fingers crossed to hopefully get the Protect grant, as we have a project that'll protect a historic waterfront area that is also a disadvantaged community. It will protect that from any future flooding. And as for the IRA, the clean air benefits that come with a transition to renewables will most acutely benefit people with pre-existing conditions and those living in environmental justice areas. So for us, the IRA is a great tool for reducing those emissions, and the BIL is great at helping protect communities and also adapt our infrastructure.
Thank you so much. Mayor Cava.
Well, thank you so much, Yoka, for putting this together, and the Center for American Progress. It's been a great honor over the many years to work with CAP on a number of important progressive policy issues. And it's great to be with my sister, Mayor Jane Castor. So as far as the IRA and really the range of funds that have become available in the Biden administration, these are real lifelines. Specifically on IRA, I'm going to name a few projects that have come out of it that I think really speak not only to resilience, but to equity. One was installing a solar panels and a cool roof with a battery backup system on a local residence in a low-income neighborhood. It's particularly for elderly residents. It's underway and almost complete. That was thanks to IRA. We also have our federal formula energy efficiency and conservation block grant dollars that we're utilizing for our solar cooperative model that has an intended nonprofit partner, Solar United Neighbors. The grant funding is pending. And I do want to say, and I hope that they're active over in the Tampa Bay area as well, but we were early adopters of Solar United Neighbors, or SUN, and creating solar co-ops that educate people and engage them to get involved with solar that they might not otherwise know about it or be able to afford it. And then we also have received support from EPA's Solar for All grant. It's going to fund low and moderate income solar and battery installations. Grant funding is pending. So I like the way Mayor Castor mentioned it. We're still waiting on some of these good things. And finally, I'll mention SELF, which is Solar and Energy Loan Fund. It is something that, again, I brought as a county commissioner, but now we are using that nonprofit organization as a major partner to fund these sorts of energy efficiency projects in low and moderate income communities.
Thank you. We're all crossing fingers. I know there's a lot on the pipeline, and that I think is what is so transformational of this historic law. And Kathleen, this one is for you. I mean, for the audience, really, put it in perspective. It is the largest investment in clean energy and climate action ever in our history. Can you tell us more about what are some of the IRA's major successes? You heard it from a Florida perspective, but maybe you can talk more about a country-wide perspective.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Yoka. It's an honor to be here with you on this panel, and of course with Mayor Levine Cava and Mayor Castor. As you and I wrote in the report we released together last month, Yoka, the Inflation Reduction Act is President Biden's landmark affordable clean energy plan. And I tend to like to use affordable clean energy plan over the Inflation Reduction Act, which can seem a little bit wonky. So you might hear me use that language during this conversation. But as we've discussed, it provides $369 billion to accelerate the U.S. transition to the clean energy economy. That is a historic investment, and it's worth highlighting that it's already achieved some major successes in 3 areas across the country. And I'll just say a couple of things about that. First, the president's clean energy plan has already unleashed a clean energy boom across the country. Since the president's clean energy plan passed about 16 months ago, businesses have already invested $310 billion to create more than 211,000 new clean energy jobs across 45 states and Puerto Rico. 211,000 new clean energy jobs. That's a lot. $310 billion. That's a lot of clean energy investment. That includes an investment of over 500 million and nearly 1,800 jobs in Florida alone. So this bill is definitely having a major impact already. And this is, just a little over a year. And this is a 10-year investment plan. The clean energy boom is also helping to revitalize rural America. Specifically, we've already seen $35 billion to create more than 33,000 jobs in rural communities across 31 states. In addition to just the investment and the job creation, we've seen that the clean energy investments are already cutting costs for households. We've seen that this massive increase in clean energy production has already cut the cost of wind and solar. For wind, it's been a 54% decrease in costs, and for solar, a 37% decrease in costs relative to what they were previously. So now both of those, the costs of both of those are now lower than coal, oil, and methane gas. So this means that the energy bills for the average family are estimated to drop by $1,000 each year with the expanded use of clean energy. So that's significant. It also means that we're going to see a more reliable grid that's going to help keep the lights on and air conditioning running during the summer, especially as we see more extreme heat event. The last thing I'll say is that President Biden's Affordable Clean Energy Plan is also cutting climate and local pollution. Rhodium Group projects that the plan will accelerate the pace of net greenhouse gas emission reductions in the United States to 29 to 42% below 2005 levels by 2030. And other experts have estimated similar conclusion there. So if the plan is complemented with federal regulatory action, which the Biden administration is working on, as well as strong action at the state and local level, and Mayor LaVincava, Mayor Castor have already shown they're taking the lead on that front. If we can get other state and local leaders to do the same, we'll see U.S. net greenhouse gas emissions dropping to 45 to 51% below 2005 levels by 2030. And that's going to put us within reach of our Paris commitment. So just in sum, we're already seeing the creation of good jobs, massive new investment in clean energy, lower costs for households, and significant reductions in local pollution, as well as climate pollution. So significant benefits all around.
Indeed. I mean, transformational is what I keep referring to, because as Mayor Cava said, these are lifelines to really get the much needed investments in the communities. As a Puerto Rican myself, it's music to my ear to hear the clean energy development in the island. So Mayor LaVincava and Mayor Castor, you both have secured federal urban forestry program grants to expand the best technology we have against reducing carbon pollution, which are trees. Tell us, I know for Mayor Cavas has always had expanding the tree canopy as one of her priorities. We'd love to hear Mayor Cava from you first, and then Mayor Castor. But how do you expect to, with the $10 million that you receive, and first of all, congratulations on that. It's a huge achievement. How do you plan to use the investments to expand our tree canopy, particularly in the communities that need it the most? Would love to hear what you're expecting to do with all that.
Thanks, Yoka. And as you know very well, we've made a commitment to get to 30% tree canopy and to focus on the neighborhoods with the lowest tree canopy, which corresponds to disinvested, lower income communities and so on. So, but before I tell you about this truly historic level of funding, I'd like to share with you some of the things that we were doing leading up to it. We had over the last 3 years been increasing the funding for tree planting and maintenance. We had started at a baseline of $1.5 million just for street tree planting, and we expanded it to $4 million per year for planting on public lands. And then this year we went up to $5 million. That was to continue our existing work and prioritize those areas with less than the 20% tree canopy, which corresponds to the higher poverty rates, as I mentioned. So then we got the 10 million that will be for over the next 5 years. And we're focused on planting street trees on neighborhood streets in areas of lowest tree canopy, primarily within the unincorporated parts of the county. So Miami-Dade County, 3 million people almost, and 34 cities, about half of the geography. So we're focusing on the unincorporated portions and asking the cities also to step up. We've also gotten private donations, corporate donations, even consular donations towards the tree canopy. And the effort really has been spearheaded as well by our faith and community activist community, PACT, People Acting for Community Together, prioritized the tree canopy issue and lobbied very effectively about it. So we are going to be adding outreach positions to go door to door, knock on homes, because we already have an adopt a tree program and we targeted it. So we advertise and we have native trees and fruit trees, butterfly attractant trees. We have, wonderful local trees, but those who are more in the loop or, in the know come out. So we targeted with postcards to those neighborhoods. And we did see an increase of families in the targeted neighborhoods. But now we're going to do even more, go door to door and offer support for how to plant the tree, how to care for the tree, a landscape architect that could help place the tree. And so we're doing these different things that will, of course, beautify, but more importantly, reduce the heat. We know the difference between trees and not trees could be 10 degrees. So we do have an extreme heat action plan. We have a chief heat officer, a heat season. So, trees are very, very much a part of our solution.
Thank you so much.
So pretty jealous about the amount of grant funding that you received. We received $1 million, but we're going to continue on, applying for future funding as well. So for us, we have been historically recognized as having one of the most robust tree canopies in the world. And we actually had 33% coverage. And as you know, we have the study every 5 years that University of South Florida helps us with. But this particular year, because of this particular study, because of all of the development that we've had in our community, we are down to 30%. And so we have set a goal of 30,000 trees planted by 2030. And a lot of elements go into that. One of the initiatives that I'm particularly fond of is we are going to mirror the Paint Your Heart Out program, and we're going to have a Plant Your Heart Out program where we will survey neighborhoods and find out where they want those trees on their property, city right of way, and go out and have a weekend event that not only is good for the environment, it brings the community together as well. Are amazing. He might be in the resiliency sustainability protection program. So I'm not sure I can say his name because somebody will probably try to steal him. But Whit Rimmer is our resiliency sustainability officer. And he's really done a great job with a number of different programs, one of which is our Americore Green Team. And we have a group of young people that have planted trees all over our city. Now we have 195 parks in the city of Tampa, and we're planting trees all over our parks. And then also we have done all of the heat mapping and making sure that we're planting trees in those areas that will make a difference. And so it's very exciting. We're very excited about this approach that we have, not only to bring our canopy back to the position that it was, but to increase it even further and get the community involved while we're doing that. So exciting, exciting opportunity for the grant funding. And then also just to be able to address this issue as one way to approach the climate change and the heat that we have here in Florida.
Indeed. Again, the best technology that we have to curb carbon pollution and to really bring down the urban heat islands are trees. So this is really a historic opportunity for both the city of Tampa and for Miami-Dade County. Thank you so much. And Kathleen, there are other grants out there, and I know the Southeast Florida Compact is and together with Miami-Dade County, as well as the city of Tampa with other municipalities are going after the climate pollution reduction grant from the EPA. This also can be, again, a game changer. Can you put into perspective, this sort of funding and other forms of fundings that communities can, the other communities need to know about that could be actively seeking, and you can just tell a few for the attendees of this call. If you can just chime in a little more of that, would be great.
Absolutely. Great question, Yoka. Well, Mayor Living-Cava and Mayor Castor already highlighted some really important programs in President Biden's Affordable Clean Energy Plan. But in addition to those, it's worth noting that the plan includes roughly $60 billion that is specifically targeted to advance environmental justice and climate justice in disadvantaged communities. There isn't time to walk through all of those, but I'd like to name three of them. First, the plan includes a brand new $3 billion environmental and climate justice grant program that is housed at EPA. $3 billion is a lot. It's not enough to address all the environmental injustices that have been perpetrated and continue to be perpetrated across this country, but it's a good start. The program aims to address environmental and climate injustice by reducing pollution, improving public health, and addressing environmental and climate risks, and improving resilience in disadvantaged communities that historically have been overburdened by high levels of pollution and climate change risks. So these grants will support community-based nonprofit organizations and their partners, including local governments and academic institutions. And they're going to support projects that specifically aim to advance environmental and climate justice. As part of this program, EPA is expecting to announce very soon, most likely before the end of this year. We were kind of expecting it this fall, a new funding opportunity for a $2 billion community change grant program. It's part of this environmental and climate justice grant program. So keep an eye out for that. We're really excited. And a number of us, the Equitable and Just National Climate Forum, it's a coalition of environmental justice organizations and national environmental groups, really worked hard to secure the funding for this program in partnership with many, many other groups. So we're excited. The second program I wanted to highlight is also a brand new program that was created by the Inflation Reduction Act, the President Biden's Clean Energy Plan. It's a $27 billion greenhouse gas reduction fund. And the aim is to mobilize financing and grants and loans for clean energy and climate resilience projects that reduce local and climate pollution. That's kind of the goal. And there's 3 pots of money. The first one is the National Clean Investment Fund. It's a $14 billion fund. I should say this fund is $27 billion. This is a huge pot of money. I think it's like the second biggest pot of money that was in the Inflation Reduction Act. And $15 billion in this fund is targeted for disadvantaged communities. So it's a significant amount of money. The National Clean Investment Fund, they're trying to distribute the money right now to the intermediaries who will then disperse the funds to projects on the ground across the country. But this fund is designed to support clean energy and climate resilience projects. The fund will hopefully be up and running by March. They'll have in place the intermediaries by March 2024, and then they'll begin funding projects hopefully by July of 2024. So keep your eye out in this next summer for funding available for that. Then there's the Clean Communities Investment Accelerator, another fund, $6 billion as part of the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. And that is designed to help households, small businesses, schools, and community institutions in disadvantaged communities access financing for clean energy projects. And then the last one, Mayor Levine Cava mentioned it, this is Solar for All program. And that gives support to states and tribal governments and municipalities to expand access to solar energy in low-income communities and disadvantaged communities. So I think they'll be distributing funds for that for projects in July. I know I've already talked a lot. I'll just say the last one to flag is the $3 billion for the Healthy Ports program. We all know historically ports have been located disproportionately alongside communities of color and low-income areas. So investing in zero emissions equipment and technology to reduce emissions at ports will go a long way to help reduce pollution and improve public health in disadvantaged low-income communities and communities of color. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathleen. And it's massive, and I get it. And there's a lot of pots of money, and it can be daunting. And I know that grant writers and Office of Resilience in cities and communities are really have a huge undertaking in front of them. That's why we put this report out together. It's the link has been dropped in the chat, so please take a look at it. But I want, for the sake of time, I wanted to get to 2 major other things that I love for the mayors to weigh in, and then we'll get into Q&A because I see the questions coming in. So we will definitely put aside 15 minutes for Q&A. But speaking of ports, it would be great to understand how you have worked with other jurisdictions across Florida, like the Florida Department of Transportation or any others or other agencies on really seeking this historic investment. Any examples will be welcome. And then, given your success in securing IRA funding so far, what advice would you give or would you offer other mayors seeking to tap into these funding opportunities and to promote the Inflation Reduction Act credits and rebates among their constituents? I think those 2 will be really helpful from your perspective if you can share some of those with our audience today.
Not sure if you have an order in mind, but
You
since I'm talking, I'll go ahead.
You can go ahead for it. Yes, it's a
Okay, very good.
candid conversation.
Yes, thank
Go
you.
for it.
Well,
Yes.
first, yes, I'll mention first that Miami-Dade County is serving as the lead organization for an EPA climate pollution reduction grant, which will lead to the creation of a greenhouse gas reduction plan for a 4-county region. So that includes Miami-Dade, Monroe, Broward, and Palm Beach counties. We are also collaborating in the whole Southeast around a whole host of issues. For example, next week we have our annual regional climate impact. Oh dear, sorry. We're having a major conference next week that will draw from the 4 counties. And this is really as a model. It's been held up nationally, how we work together, set standards, partner for shared grants and so on. It definitely has given us a leg up in competing for funding on regional collaboration because we've actually been doing it for many years. So I also want to point out that we're partnering with Clio, Yoka's organization, that is helping us to lead the engagement part to our low income and disadvantaged communities. So that's very important to me. Very, very much interested in having a very participatory government and grateful for the partnership with Clio on these environmental engagement topics, which are so critical. Also, GHG reduction plan is part of it and will document benefits to the community from the identified greenhouse gas reduction measures. And then the second major thing that I would showcase is that we're partnering with Miami-Dade College and the City of Miami Gardens on a grant application that was submitted through the IIJA funded charging and fueling infrastructure grant program. So most privately funded charging locations are concentrated in more affluent areas with higher rates of EV adoption. And the grant application is proposing to address this inequity through the installation of level 2 chargers on 73 community facilities throughout the county, including it would be the first vehicle chargers in the city of Miami Gardens, which is the largest predominantly Black city in the state of Florida. So those are a couple of the areas.
And since I have you on the microphone, Mayor Cava, given your success, what advice would you give to others that are seeking funding as well?
Yes. So I think the most important is the collaboration and over time the trust. And this regional collaboration that we have has been really extremely valuable over the many years. The compact, it's given us a leg up. So I think there's really no substitute for that. And we also have an interdisciplinary internal watch group that is watching every single opportunity that comes down from Washington and the state. I think we've been probably among the most successful in obtaining funding. I'm sorry, Mayor Castor, I know we're having a little friendly competition here on some different matters, but we have worked really hard, and we also work with our cities. So we're tracking not only what happens at the county level, but at the cities, because of course, these environmental factors do not affect cities, they affect really regions, and we need to work together.
Thank you for that. Mayor Castro, would you like to chime in on some of the collaborations you have also going, and if you had also additional recommendations? I mean, I think obviously this is such a massive undertaking to really measure the kind of urgency and existential threat a warming climate poses to Floridians. So needless to say, friendly competition, everybody needs the funding, and thankfully there's plenty to share. And so we'd love to hear from your perspective some of your collaborative efforts with other agencies and your recommendations to others.
Yes, without a doubt. And, you know, I think I can safely speak for Mayor Levine Cava when I say that we're very disappointed that the state of Florida declined to accept the climate pollution reduction grant funds. But from what we have seen so far, the EPA is still going to be able to provide the resources to communities in Florida so that we won't be left out of the planning and the implementation process. So we're very excited about that. We have been working very closely here with our Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council. That's sort of our collaborative group that would mirror what's going on down in Miami-Dade. And we are developing that regional climate plan, and that's going to track right along with the city of Tampa's plan. So very excited about that. And also excited that the EPA, you know, they're going to continue to focus on those projects that are going to significantly reduce the carbon emission while providing regional benefit. And I think that's important. So some of the things that I could suggest, first of all, I'll say for a shout out for our White House representation, our DC representation, to Congresswoman Kathy Castor, absolutely no relation, but she has been such a champion for our area in all things grant funded. So we're very happy about that. We're happy about the 30% rebates on the solar. That has allowed us to move ahead with a number of city projects and to take over projects that we were collaborating with the electric company on. Now we can do those ourselves because of that particular rebate. But the advice that I would have, first and foremost, is do your homework. Have your projects prepared. Know what the issues are, identify those, and then what avenue you're going to take to address them. And that avenue obviously needs to be impactful, but it also needs to be done quickly because this is an issue that we can't allow to continue on in any of our communities, especially here in Florida. So have those projects ready, like we like to say, shovel ready, and then advocate for that on every level, local, city, county, state, and with DC. Also, don't forget about the private entities that are willing to jump in. They may not know how they can help, so you have to communicate and collaborate as well. But I think the biggest suggestion that I would give is the collaboration, to look at who all can be helpful in these situations and then reach out to them and collaborate as a community. And then when you're looking for the funding as well, it's critically important.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. And collaboration was what your climate action and equity plan was all about, where we had all different sectors be part of it. Thank you so much for that. And Kathleen, this will be a very short.
As well, Yoka, is that how instrumental Cleo was in assisting us with the development of that climate action plan. So, that's a perfect example that everyone could look at. And as in my time as a police officer, I would tell everyone my best original ideas usually come from other people. So look at what other communities are doing and use that, steal those ideas and those initiatives and those projects if they're going to be beneficial for your community. Don't hesitate.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Kathleen, real quick, because we spoke about rebates and the Mayor Castor talked about funds being passed over by the state. It has been reported that Florida rejected $346 million for home energy rebates that would have helped Floridians upgrade their energy efficiency on their homes and lower their electricity bills. Is this true? Is it too late for Florida to access those $346 million that we so all desperately need to lower our power bills?
I'm so glad you asked me this question.
Good, she's asking someone else.
There was a lot of misreporting on this. So this summer, I think many of us read about how Governor DeSantis vetoed $5 million in federal grants in the state budget that would have helped Florida set up home energy rebate programs in Florida to deliver this $346 million in federal home energy rebate funding to Floridians. And this is true, that veto did occur. And this $346 million, just so everybody knows what it is, this was funding from the Inflation Reduction Act that was allocated for Florida through the U.S. Department of Energy's home energy rebate program. So this was like non-competitive funding that was set aside for Florida. Florida still has to apply, but it was not competitive. Just needs to like say, okay, we want the money. Here's, here's a non-competitive application. This funding is just an incredible opportunity for Floridians to save on their energy bills. It would allow Floridians to upgrade their homes through energy efficiency improvements, switch to energy efficiency appliances, all sorts of things. The good news is there was a lot of reporting that Florida can no longer access this $346 million. This is not true. Florida did not have to accept that $5 million grant to access the $346 million. So it's still sitting there waiting for Florida. But Florida does still need to apply. Florida's Office of Energy has until August 16th, 2024 to notify the Department of Energy of its plans to apply for the funds. If they miss that deadline, then those funds will be reallocated to other states. I'm sure other states would be happy to have them, but Floridians really deserve to have those funds. Florida has energy bills that are 43% higher than the national average. So the DeSantis administration and Commissioner Wilton Simpson, who oversees Florida's energy office, should be jumping at the opportunity to secure that $346 million. They have until August 2024, and then the formal application needs to be submitted by January 2025. So there's still time. That's
okay. There's still time. We can do this. Yeah. 336 million is a lot of money, and that all of us here in Florida can use to lower our bills. Okay, we're going to take some quick questions from the audience, and they're coming in. The first one is, and please just chime in, whoever would like to answer this question. One of them was, do you see ways that our public schools K through 12 can support this wonderful climate work that you're doing with our city? Would anybody would like to answer that question?
Well, I do want to note that we have now a resilience office in our public school system here, and very effective in short order, already purchased electric school buses, very active. And I certainly think every school system needs to follow suit. So yes. I would start with that. And then we have a wonderful organization, Dream and Green, that focuses on school-based education for children, teaching the teachers to teach the children to come up with energy efficiencies. That has been very effective over the many years, as well as the leadership training like that Cleo does to train people early on.
Yes, and I would also say that with our educational system, first and foremost, I think that goes hand in hand with the collaboration, to collaborate with your local academic institutes as well, partnering grants, allow them to do a lot of your research. Just make sure that you're making use of your resources. On the educational front, the youth are the future of our communities. And so I think that the more that we can do to make them aware of the significance of water conservation, the importance of water, I firmly believe it's the most important resource worldwide, and that we're waiting way too long to pay attention to that, and educate the children on the significance of resiliency, sustainability, the importance of our environment, what they can do individually and collaboratively to make sure that as they grow up, that we will be able to not only stop the damage that we have done to our environment, but to be able to reverse that in many instances as well. So our focus here locally is on education starting very, very young, even things as simple as litter. That's one of my pet peeves, and just making sure we're educating the future of our communities.
Sure is. One more, and then we'll have to say goodbye. I know I'm tremendously grateful for your time. I see Mayor Cava already on the go. And I just wanted to, you talk about conservation, and I would love for you to tell us, your experiences about the bipartisan nature of this work and the challenges and the opportunities you see with working with people across the political spectrum. Successes, obviously, if you have them, and challenges as well, but we'd love to hear how you're finding consensus and working alongside your peers.
Well, I would like to say that we do have Green Republicans. I've met a few. And I think we really benefit from being in a nonpartisan situation in city and county government here. So climate change is no longer a debate. We might quibble the cause, which our governor does, but we know we've got it. We are facing things like the damage to our bay. So that's it. These are visible things. They're palpable. They affect people's everyday quality of life. We have state and federal partners keeping our bay clean. Our bay needs to be clean. It needs to address the litter issue that Mayor Castor mentioned, and we were just talking about it earlier today, to educate people that everything that's on the land goes into the water. There's really no separation, and the nutrient level, the heat, of course, we get the death of the corals, the death of the seagrass, the fish kills. These are things that are very visible and very depressing. So I think people really get it. And then it's just a matter of what are the most effective ways, and not, pretending that these things are not economically important. So we just did an economic study of the impact of our Biscayne Bay, and it was an $84 billion impact. So, if you don't care about it because you just are a tree hugger or, enjoy the beautiful outdoors, let's care about it for the jobs and the future vitality of our economy.
Mm-hmm. And I couldn't agree more. And I think that the days of those who say that climate change is a myth, I think those days are gone. And Governor DeSantis has a chief resiliency officer and has actually provided close to $40 million in grants in that area. But as the mayor so eloquently pointed out, we have to address this now. I mean, the coral is dying, the seagrass, we're seeing all of these issues, the increased temperatures, the ferociousness of our storms and Mother Nature. These events aren't going to get any better unless we take action now. And so we couldn't be more thankful to the Biden administration and the provision of the funding, because what I've found in my time in this office is that we have the plans, we have the initiatives. Most often what we lack is the funding to implement that. And then also the sharing of best practices. That's critically important as well, that we don't go through it as a municipality, county, state, that we're reinventing the wheel every time. If someone has an initiative that will be beneficial, that we're sharing those as a nation as well. So it's, I don't think all's lost. I do believe that it is critical that we act with a great deal of urgency in the moment.
Indeed. And I will repeat a quote from Miami-Dade County's Chief Bay Officer. The environment is the economy. And we need to protect Florida's biodiversity, who really motors our economic engines like tourism. Everybody wants to come to play in Florida, live in Florida, retire in Florida. So protecting our natural resources is an imperative. Well, I know we only have 5 minutes. I'd love to really ask you for if you have additional remarks or additional examples or major wins that you like to share with our audience here today. I know that we have asked a lot of you from your busy schedule, and I'm so grateful for your time. I know there are some, and I'll put Mayor Cava on the spot because Miami-Dade County was recently awarded a tech hub in the country, and perhaps you would like to briefly mention what that is all about for our audience member that may not be aware of.
Thank you. I would, Yoka. So, of course, we became famous during the pandemic as a tech hub. Famously, our city of Miami mayor invited people to come, and you know what? They did. They came, and so many kinds of tech, and we've prioritized climate tech. And this has led to the designation of, from the U.S. Department of Commerce, one of 31 places in the country with a designation of a different kind of tech hub. And we're going to be in line to get as much as 50 to 75.
It looks like we're losing her. We may have, oh, she's back. Mayor Cava, we're losing you. I think you are.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
Okay, so we assembled an incredible collaboration of public and private university civic groups to make the case. And it includes quite a number of private firms that are doing all kinds of things that adapt seawalls, 3D seawalls, cement that doesn't corrode in salt water. Watsco, the largest HVAC manufacturer in the world. So just a range of different types of resilience type businesses, as well as other opportunities. And so we're super excited. We should be the leader in these things here in Florida, and with the support of U.S. Department of Commerce and private area funders, we're going to move forward, create new jobs, and train people for the new economy.
All right, and I will add, I'll say that that here in Tampa, we are very happy for Miami-Dade being named a tech hub, although more than a bit jealous on that. We were kind of hoping for that ourselves. But I'll just give an overarching of Tampa's focus, what we call transforming Tampa's tomorrow. And that's a focus on transportation, workforce development, affordable housing, and resiliency and sustainability. And all of those are intertwined. If you look at resiliency, sustainability, I can't think of a way that you can affect that more than in your transportation systems. And so that's something that we're looking at here in Tampa. I often joke that mass transit in Tampa Bay is more than 2 people in an SUV. So I want to say thank you to Mayor Levine Cava. We just did the Brightline tour, and she welcomed our group of 40 people down in Miami and gave us a great overview. We were able to take that to Orlando, and then we're looking forward to the Orlando-Tampa connection. But really looking at those forms of transportation that will take those emissions out of our environment. So many ways that we can address this. But again, I can't underscore the importance of acting quickly in every possible area that we can. Our resiliency sustainability plan has 58 initiatives in it. And we have put into action all but a couple so far that are more aspirational, but we are making progress, and we track that progress on a regular basis to make sure we're doing all we can to ensure the future of our community.
Thank you so much. And with those words, we're gonna close for today. But before, I want to say a few keywords that really resonated with me. Transformational, collaboration, and urgency are the three keywords that were predominant in this conversation. There was one question we didn't get to, which was what are private citizens can do to help, while commending the local government efforts. And to that, I'll say, we'd love to invite you to check the cleoinstitute.org. We have a lot of lessons and trainings for public average citizens to also be part of the solution. It really takes an all-hand approach. And I'm thankful for collaborating with the Center of American Progress and putting this incredible event together and the report where you can really delve into a lot more opportunities for our great state of Florida. Thank you, Major Castor. Thank you, Major Cava. Again, thank you. I am honored to spend this hour with you, your three esteemed warriors and leaders on this important issue of our time. Thank you so much from the Clio Institute and from everybody at the Center for American Progress for your time here today.
Thank you all. It was an honor. Have a great day.
Great. Loved it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for spending your 1 hour of your afternoon with us.
Thanks for moderating, Yoka.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Bye.